All right, Fletcher Wheaton here with
Alejandro Donadieu.
I always get his last name wrong.
You
Donadieu.
got it.
Okay. We're here gonna go over some MLS data. This is a quiz we're gonna do for our sales meeting coming up. So we've got some good MLS data and just wanted to go over it as I always do. Alejandro has not seen this, so you ready?
Pop quiz. Yeah.
Let's get into it. See what's going on in the Cabo real estate market. Question number 1. What percentage of condos in Cabo and San Jose are 2-bedroom condos?
60%.
Close. 54%. So there's 1,190 condos total. 26% are 3 bedrooms. 1 bedrooms are 15%. You got a lot of 4 bedrooms now. There used to be a lot less than that.
Yeah.
I remember when that number was 16. And then you have 5-bedroom condos, 9 total. Kind of with all the development that's happening post-pandemic, a lot of it was 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but a lot of people are favoring a 3-bedroom. So a lot more developments are using 3-bedroom condos. You know, they'll do 2 and 3. And I think that number will kind of increase.
Do you have like 1-bedroom lofts on the 2-bedroom condos?
No, this is literally whatever anybody tagged it on the MLS.
Okay.
So if they put it as a 1-bedroom, that's what it is.
Okay.
If they put it on the MLS as a 2-bedroom, that's what it is.
Okay.
So it just gives you a general breakdown of the condo inventory, 1,190 total, and over half of those are 2 bedrooms. So this is an interesting one.
Which community has more closed sales, Quivira or Diamante, over the last year? I will say Diamante. No, huh? It's Quivira.
It's Quivira. Okay, so Quivira has 3 times the sales that Diamante does on the MLS. And this is over the last 365 days.
Big difference, huh?
So you have 112 million closed on the MLS over the last year in Quivira. This includes like the St. Regis and whatnot. Average price point, almost 2.5 million. And then Diamante had 10 closed properties at 35 million. So it's not exactly 3 times, but it's pretty close.
Yeah. I remember we have seen more open houses in Quivira and more people looking at Quivira.
It's a more mature property and it has more offerings.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of these numbers are going to be coming from the St. Regis. Now, here's another interesting one. If you go on the golf course communities on the Pacific side, you know, you got like Pedregal, then right above that you have Quivira.
Yeah.
Then you have Diamante, and then you have Rancho San Lucas.
Yeah.
So literally from proximity from Cabo, Quivira, 3 times less Diamante, and then 3 times less than that Rancho San Lucas.
What's the size of each one?
You have the average price point is the largest in Diamante, and that's a lot of the reason on that is because it's a higher price point, but also you have a lot more condo inventory in Quivira, mainly in Copola and Mavila. And those price points are generally sub-million, 95% I would say of those condos.
Yeah.
You know, some of the penthouses 3-bedroom penthouses can get more than that.
It opens up the market, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So here's another one. We have our San Jose golf courses, and I'm just picking Cabo Real, Palmilla, Querencia, Campestre, and Puerto Los Cabos. So rank them. This is just homes and condos over the last year. What's number 1 on that list? I put these in order last night when I was doing this, and I actually got it right. It's not a shock.
Querencia is going to be first. Palmilla. Then Cabo Real, Campestre, and Puerto Los Cabos.
This is over the past year, right? Palmilla is far and away the biggest golf course between these and San Jose. Okay. 202 million, average price point 5.1. You have some crazy houses like hanging at 16 million in Palmilla, and that's only going to increase. By the way, this is all like Oceanside and the corridor side.
You think like Querencia is following up?
Yeah. So, and if you look at the price point with Querencia too, it's pretty equal to the price point in Palmilla. I will say this is that Querencia has seen a huge uplift. Yeah. They added the beach club. They're adding the second golf course. So Querencia is going to keep going up. Puerto Los Cabos, high price point, right? So really, if you look at the price points on the right side, they're 4 million and above. And then Campestre, 35 million, and Cabo Real, almost 22 million. So, and those price points are, 1.8 and 1.2. I will say this, Cabo Surf Club, I don't think it's on the MLS. So those aren't factored in. And have you ever heard of Charles Schwab?
No.
It's a bank and brokerage in the United States.
Okay.
And the son of Charles Schwab, who's a billionaire, is the guy who's doing Cabo Surf.
Okay.
So they got a lot of money going in. There's actually, I'm working with somebody that is probably going to be buying or building a home in that community. We'll see. It's like just starting, pretty ambitious, and they'll be moving golf holes eventually from the ocean side to the other side of the highway.
Inland.
And then that's in Cabo Real. And then that's going to be Beach Club. Cabo Real is a really nice golf course. So, I mean, if I had to say this with golf courses, I would say Querencia was without a doubt number one. I'd say Puerto Los Cabos, you have almost 2 full golf courses right now. You will have 36 holes. It's 27. I'd probably say that's number 2. Campestre and Cabo Real are kind of the same.
Yeah.
They just redid Cabo Real, and they're going to continue. So I might say that, but this is a Jack Nicklaus course. So these are really good. And then Palmilla, ironically, as the biggest seller, I would say is probably the least desirable golf course.
Really?
Yeah. It's a good golf course. We have good golf courses here. When I went home, somebody was asking me to golf, and I was like,
no.
golf with Goat Ranch Municipal Course. I'm like spoiled here. So what is the percent of list price? So on the MLS, obviously if you have something like a condo that's listed, just to keep it round numbers, $100,000 and it sells for $93,000, it's sold for 93% of list price. This is a good indicator on where things are at. These numbers have trended up from last year, and we'll go there. So what is the percent of list for condos?
Okay. Well, I think it's gonna be around there, 94%.
Okay, so this data right here is kind of corrupted. The numbers from last year were above, like somebody put bad numbers on the MLS.
Okay.
Anyway, it's about 97%, which was kind of shocking for condos, right? And I said flat from last year, but last year's numbers were kind of corrupted.
Okay.
Homes are 93%. That's about at, generally like 94% is about where it's at, right?
Okay.
So if you're looking at a home, and this depends on the market where things are at. I was talking to an agent yesterday, and the house that's on the MLS is the only one left on the MLS. So that sell side agent can say, hey, this is the last one.
Okay.
Or the only one on the MLS right now. That might tick up. But, maybe you're coming in at 90% on the offer.
Yeah.
Right? It all depends. And then land is up 2% from last year. People generally do not price land well. So, that generally usually is kind of the lowest sometimes.
But as you say, it has increased 2% from last year.
Yeah.
That's something.
No, and I think that's what happened. We were kind of in this rising market.
Yeah.
And then demand dropped off or kind of just stayed steady. But people kept listing things like the market was going up. This is not just Cabo. This is around the world, the United States too. And I think people are getting a little bit more realistic as days on market ticked up. They're like, hey, man, I want to sell. Let me lower pricing. Okay, so what percentage of sales, homes and condos on the Pacific on the MLS are in golf communities? So the Pacific is basically Pedregal up. Pedregal is not included. That's part of Cabo San Lucas. You go above that.
Okay.
And then we have those golf courses. So basically we're going to be talking about Quivira, Diamante, and Rancho San Lucas are the golf course communities that I'm including. Everything else above, all the way up past Todos Santos, is included on this.
It's included.
Yeah. So what percentage of all these sales are? We already saw the numbers.
Well, if you're including Todos Santos, Cerritos, Pescaderos, all that side, I think it's going to be like 60%.
Bang on. So 66% of sales on the Pacific, which I think is deceiving because it's 2 separate areas.
Yeah.
But the MLS categorize it. So you see these sales in the Pacific and you're like, oh my God, the Pacific's, way bigger than La Paz, for example, sales wise. But if you took the golf course communities out, that number would be significantly lower. And then, for example, places like Cerritos, where you have a lot of condo sales, that increases, but if you just go to homes, it jumps up closer. Last time I checked was 75, so it might be a little bit lower than that, but
Yeah.
you know, so a large portion of the sales on the Pacific side.
Makes sense.
Total closed sales on the Pacific, 236 million over the last 365 days. 66% of that is in the golf course communities. Once again, here are the numbers, right? And then once again, so Quivira, basically 3 times Diamante, and Diamante 3 times Regis San Lucas, not taken into account. This is just MLS. So some transactions obviously happen off the MLS. And just to be clear, if I was doing the MLS, I would have a separate category for the Pacific.
Yeah.
And I would include Todos Santos, Cerritos, all that, Magriño, you know, Rolling Hills and up.
How would you call it?
I might even include the golf course communities like Cabo Pacific Golf or part of Cabo San Lucas.
Yeah.
How many total listings are there on the MLS right now? You wouldn't know this. This is so arbitrary to ask somebody who hasn't looked at this.
I mean, 2,600?
4,182.
Yeah.
Now, condos are...
Wait, you're talking about the whole state, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all, Baja California Sur.
Yeah.
So land is the most, then condos, then homes, but we have over 1,000 in each. So just a good number to go by. And then also, are these numbers accurate? I would say not necessarily, because you look at a community, let's just take Solara Del Mar, for example.
Yeah.
Let's call it basically 100 condos, 100 homes.
Yeah.
They might only have 10% of the inventory on the MLS.
Yeah.
You know, so these pre-construction communities, which last time I checked was probably about, pre-construction is about half the market when you just go to homes and condos. You know, half the inventory is these pre-construction projects, but also they're only showing a portion. You know, like when we launched Sendero, we had, you know, maybe, you know, out of the 16, it might have been like 5 or 6 up. Americans, we like to complicate things.
Yeah.
The metric system's all super easy. So you have 10,000 square meters in 1 hectare. And so people that don't know, the hectare is like the equivalent of the acre. And I believe it's 1 hectare is 2.4 acres.
Okay. Yeah, that's a thing, right? Like people have to double check when they're talking measures because of the square meters and the...
I mean, it's just regular math. But at the end of the day, a lot of the U.S. buyers that are coming down here are accustomed to square feet.
That's interesting. You know? Have you seen like a big mistake made? No,
because like the MLS will categorize it too. It does it for you. So you input it in square meters. Yeah. You know, like AC and in balcony space, and then it automatically puts it to. There's never really been a confusion in mine. Whoops. All right. On a percentage basis, what is up higher when compared to last year? Condos, homes, or land? So homes are 53% higher. The San Jose corridor, we're talking about Palmilla and Querencia are involved there. Last year, the average price point was like 4.7, 4.8 million. This year, it's like 5.9. Okay. So, and we're just going on a sales volume basis, you know? So you have a lot of those homes pinging. So that high end
is getting higher.
Well, but it's also like that, it's going to increase this number. Yeah. You know, whereas maybe in Tezal, it's more flat, although home sales in Tezal are definitely up. Condo sales are basically the same. Yeah. It's slightly down, but it's less than a percentage. Okay. So, and once again, this is across all Baja. And then land is down 43%. But look, everything got expensive, so then a lot of people land bank, they buy land. And I think what we've seen too is a lot more people are building on land now. Yeah. So they bought land and now they're either like staying on it or they're going to, and markets are different, you know, like Loretto land is up a lot. Yeah. So, and then once again, we're looking at this piece of land on the East Cape. That's an off-market transaction. So it's like not these are, there. Yeah. So a lot of the larger land sales, especially when developers get involved too, are not going to show up on the MLS. Okay. Closed sales on the MLS. We've had a very interesting start to the year. I say start, man. We're already in August. Yeah. I feel old, man. I feel like it should be like March right now. Anyway, this year's flying by. Tariffs, trade wars, all this stuff. U.S. market is really weird. By the way, people call it the U.S. real estate market. It's really 400 submarkets.
Okay.
So it could be slow in Seattle and it could be smoking in, Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
So like just throwing out the U.S. market as one is a mistake. It's 400 submarkets. Closed sales on the MLS. A lot of people would answer, hey, they think this is lower. I would have thought kind of if you had just dropped me in and kind of told me what was going on and asked me, I would have said lower. But, closed sales are up 17% in 2025. We've sold over $1 billion so far this year in 2025.
Well, but with more transactions, I think it's kind of the same transactions, right? But the value has gone higher.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I didn't check that number. But on a sales volume basis, just on a dollar for dollar basis, we're up over $1 million.
Okay.
What percentage of home buyers say they never heard back from a real estate agent after closing?
24%.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you kind of understand why some people have a low opinion on real estate agents and realtors. We'll go down that rabbit hole with our group.
Yeah.
Not necessarily something the audience needs to hear, but that's something interesting. Okay. So Todos Santos.
La Paz.
La Paz.
Yeah.
Okay. That is correct. If you buy a piece of land in Todos Santos and you build, all the paperwork that you're submitting goes to La Paz, not Cabo. And La Paz is slower.
Okay.
La Paz is definitely slower.
I bet.
Like getting the condo regime done and everything is a lot slower. And Cabo is not necessarily known. Well, it's really the municipality is really in San Jose, but it's not known for its speed either. But it's probably it's definitely quicker than Barriles.
Los Barriles has to be. That's a tough one. I think Los Cabos.
La Paz.
La Paz also.
I would get. Well, Los Barriles is up higher,
Yeah.
But it's La Paz.
I know that La Ventana has to be in La Paz.
100%.
But then.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure. We got to check out where the cutoff is on that. Okay. Once again, this is for our group. We don't have to go on this too much, but basically when you have a signed listing agreement, you have 48 hours to upload it. And this is just to let our group know. It's like a lot of people will sign there. Yeah. Larissa's right here. Here, I signed this. When can we do photos? And it's like, man, we're running an operation here. She can't just drop what she's doing and get that done. And this is also for people that are selling to know as well. Once you have a signed agreement, it should go up on the MLS within 48 hours. Okay, so once again, this is just for our group. What is a lien?
It's a legal claim or right against a property as a security for a debt or obligation.
Yes, that is true. Here in Baja, when you go to close, the closing attorney, and always use a closing attorney, will get a certificate of no liens. And that's on a monthly basis, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a closing and it gets extended another month, they're going to have to go back to the municipality and get a certificate of no liens to show that the seller doesn't have a mortgage on it. Maybe there's some sort of pending lawsuit, and somebody has a lien against the property. So anyway, a lien is definitely something where, somebody has a right or claim against, especially when it comes to debt on the property.
Okay.
And obviously you don't have any liens when you're buying it, but that's part of the closing process. That's a huge part, the certificate of no liens, and all closing attorneys will get that.
Does the lien support you for 2 months, 3 months?
Oh, no. So like, for example, if you buy a house in Tezal and would you say you're a Mexican and you have a mortgage with Banorte.
Okay.
Like you might have a 30-year debt obligation on that, and you might be 10 years into paying it. So there's nothing wrong with it, right? But they're going to be like, hey, technically that seller doesn't own the house. The bank
owns the house.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're paying the bank for it, right? So that would show up. They're like, hey, they got a mortgage.
Okay.
So that's not necessarily a bad thing, because maybe they bought it at 300 and they're selling it at 400. They're going to make money anyway. They're going to pay off that balance with the bank, and the attorneys work all that out.
Okay.
And the seller should obviously always disclose that information, but you'd be shocked a lot of the times they will not.
Okay.
Or you'll have a situation where maybe they had a loan on it and they're not up to date. And the bank has an issue. They're like, hey, if he bought at 300 and he's 10 years in his payments, but he stopped making payments last year, they're going to want their money too. They'll be happy to know he's selling or she's selling for that price, right?
Of course.
But, you know, and liens can get into, I'm not an attorney and I'm not claiming to be, but they can get quite complex. But that's just an example. You should know this.
El predial, the sales tax for real estate in Baja California Sur. No. The property tax.
Property tax.
Yeah.
So people know this. Property taxes here are much lower than the States. Tax evasion is quite notorious in Latin America.
Yeah.
So actually here, you'll have, if you pay your property taxes in January, which are already cheap, you get a 20% discount.
Yeah.
February, 15%, March, 10%, April, 5. And then after that, you know, they're happy to collect. And then you'll see this too, like people that have large piece of land in the East Cape, they might not have paid property taxes for years. So when they go to sell, you know, then they settle up with the government. I mean, a lot of Americans are just like, it's like, hey, taxes are part of it. Here, it's a much more, I would say, laid back attitude towards it.
Yeah, there is no home administration in Mexican culture, not much at least. So you can see just by the discounts, like 20%.
No, 50%. So I saw this, like you have, in like 2016, they were only able to capture 70% of the property taxes in Puerto Vallarta.
Okay.
You know, it's just part of the culture.
Yeah.
Generally, they're not like taking away the house or anything, but like those cause issues. You obviously want to stay up to date.
Eventually,
most people are. But
and that 30% that didn't pay, eventually it's gonna cut up.
It's gonna catch up. Yeah. What's the saying? The only thing that's constant, life or death and taxes. So you're gonna pay your taxes, right? Yeah. You need all the above, right? So if you're that person that bought that house at $300,000, you know, the closing attorney is going to want that, right? And then you give them, hey, let's say you're listing it at if we know that homes are selling at 93%, maybe you're listing that at 425,000, right?
Yeah.
And you're expecting to sell it for 400, right? So you give them that 400K price point, you know, the list price, then the commission that's agreed, which is tax deductible from the capital gains, and then the attorney can give you a capital gains estimate.
Yeah.
And you should obviously always do this before, because you're paying your capital gains at the sale. That's part of the notary's responsibility. And notaries are a lot different here, and they're much more important here than they are in the United States.
Yeah.
So that's their obligation.
Okay.
And if they don't do those, they'll get their license pulled, and owning a notary is like a money printing machine here.
They have a really big position over here.
But if you're looking to sell, you should always get a capital gains estimate. What is obra negra?
Everything is gray. And everything is exposed.
Okay, so it's going to be B, the later stages of construction. So when structural elements
without finishing.
So like a lot of times, if you're, let's say you buy in a condo community and it's a 4-story condo tower, they'll have milestone payments, you know, foundation, second floor, you know, obra negra, and then delivery.
It's a pretty common term.
So this is basically when you have the shell.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't necessarily need to have windows in, there's no finishings, but, you know, the actual shell and frame of the building is done. It's
called negra, black, because you see it from far away and it looks like all gray, dark, of course.
Yeah, so it's just a term that is very popular here in pre-construction, especially in milestone payments. And if you're doing pre-construction, I highly encourage you to do milestone payments versus,
of course,
arbitrary dates. I have plenty of videos on why
that's pretty interesting. That's a good solution. The milestone paying.
No, it's like you should always do milestone payments on pre-construction, 100%.
Yeah, you will not advance until I see.
No, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, hey, show me what you've done.
Yeah.
Because then if you're like, hey, February, you're going to make this payment, and then the guy's in Acapulco sitting on the beach drinking rum.
Yeah.
And he hasn't done anything and it's still land. They're like, hey man, you got your 35 grand. You're like, dude, you haven't done anything. It's like, hey, the contract says you make this payment on this date. It's like, yeah, well, it was under the assumption that you were going to be building and you're not.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, no, well, as soon as you do the foundation, we'll give you 10%. As soon as you do the roof on, 10%, you know?
That's the way to do it.
So 100%. What is the condo regime? Yes. Okay, so if you think about it, let's take a condo project of 100 condos, right? you have a piece of land and it has a tax ID on it.
Yeah.
Until you have the condo regime in place, you just have one tax ID.
Yeah.
Now, how are you going to pay taxes if you have one ID, but there's 100 separate owners, right?
Yeah.
So once you build a certain percentage, you apply for the condo regime from the government.
Yeah.
And then they can give you, that's where you get title, right? But until you have that, you cannot own the property. So a lot of times there's a lag. I'd say 6 months to be safe. So
Okay.
when the condo is finished, you can pay in full and use it, right? But you might not actually own it.
Okay.
You have to have the condo regime. This is another reason why having an attorney review all the paperwork and not releasing any monies. Now you have soft closes and whatnot. That's a whole nother animal. But the condo regime is super important. There's a lot of building going on, so there's a lot of delays with it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's not on the developer.
Yeah.
A lot of times it is, but at the end of the day, as we said earlier, in La Paz, it's going to take a lot longer.
Yeah.
In Cabo, it's starting to take longer because there's just so much construction going on.
Of course.
But the condo regime is crucial in getting your title and ownership. And once again, that's because you will go from one tax ID to 100.
I know it's not right, but is it possible to find a construction, a place with no condo regime?
Like something that's built out?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And what trouble does that cause?
It's like having physical possession without a title.
Yeah.
So it's a huge issue.
Okay. How can you catch that from afar?
Well, there's all sorts of issues. Like you're going down a rabbit hole right now. You can have anything from, I wouldn't necessarily say corruption, but I would say, somebody who's negligent.
Yeah. Okay.
And it costs money to do the condo regime. It can cost tens of thousands of dollars. So if a developer's already in the hole,
yeah,
that's one of the reasons they won't do it.
Hmm.
But, a lot of people, you'll be in a situation where the condo is 2 years, a year late.
Okay.
And you want it, because you want to use it, you want to Airbnb it, whatever it is, right? But your attorney's going to be like, no, we don't have the condo regime yet, So it's like, hey, do you move in and do soft possession? You should have money held back for it. But then that doesn't even do it. So a lot of the developers here are just used to, like this nonchalant attitude, but like, oh, it's coming. And it's a very, it's a cultural thing,
Okay.
But like an American's like, dude, I need title.
Of course.
And I'm not saying a Mexican doesn't say that, but they're just like, oh, this happens here.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in the US. So they're like, no, dude, I'm not doing anything until you give me the title and I actually own it.
Of course.
But there's people that are 3-4 years into a project that don't have title, 100%. So that all comes back to the developer. It's a whole nother book I'm writing. It's 30 pages on pre-construction.
Okay.
45-point checklist on questions to ask.
Okay.
So
that's a good one.
According to MLS rules, is it mandatory to use escrow?
Yes.
It is. So this is huge. I think you were in the office yesterday. Yeah, you were here.
Yeah.
Escrow is great.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a great tool.
It gives a third party accountability so nobody can do funny business.
Yeah.
Again, it's a cultural thing. A lot of the Mexican buyers and sellers don't want to use escrow.
Yeah.
But escrow is required. So if you're doing a deal and it's on the MLS and they will not offer escrow, report it. We had this, like you have escrow companies that are based, the one that we really like, Global Escrow, is based in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
We had a guy in this deal we were talking about yesterday. He was a Mexican seller and he didn't like escrow and he didn't want it to be in the United States. So you have Mexican-based escrows as well, like Allianz, you have like backed by Lloyd's of London, but they're in Mexico City.
Yeah.
So legit, I will say this though too. I was speaking to Eduardo Tapia, an attorney, and people can literally just start an LLC and say like, hey, Cabo Escrow, and they're not even an escrow company. Mm-hmm. So I could start like a business that says like Fletcher Escrow.
Yeah.
And then I'm selling my property and, oh, hey, you got to use this escrow company. And you put it in and it's my company. So there's like shady stuff that goes on. So there's really like 3 companies that I would recommend. And this guy didn't want to use a US based one. The logic that he had, in my opinion, was completely flawed.
Yeah.
But hey, we can put that into a Mexico-based escrow system, and it's still the same thing. But escrow is super important, protecting both sides.
Yeah.
And it's mandatory. So if you want to use it, use it. And depending on the situation, really you should use it.
I'm coming from another place of Mexico. I have seen it like not using it. No one uses escrows outside of Baja. And now that I came here and
but dude, there's so many.
No,
like, it doesn't make sense.
What I'm saying is like,
it's like literally going back to the Stone Age.
Of course, when I see it here, it makes completely sense. Like, why are we not using it everywhere?
It's like, hey, this money, for example, let's go to the condo regime. These people, here, I'm going to put the money in an escrow. Oh, you're going to give it to the developer? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Then you put it in the escrow. Hey, when you get the condo regime, we will release this final 10, 20%. If not, he's already got the money. She's already got the money. There's no incentive. Like, it just doesn't, but you can see why they don't want to use escrow, because they want the money now.
Yeah.
But it's not good for anybody.
Of course.
So we have regulations in place, and if somebody's not abiding by it, let somebody know, dude.
It saves money.
What percentage of sales do not show up on the MLS?
I don't know, like 25%?
25%. So that's what I would say, and that's estimated. So the past couple of years we've sold 1.5 billion, and I'd say we sell about 2 billion total as a market. And you have these huge, like Costa Palmas has some massive sales, and they don't use the MLS for most of them. Okay. So you have a lot of these larger developments, they do not use the MLS. But you also, once again, huge tracts of land that are sold are not done on the MLS. So estimated, and this is just through conversations with other people. So not everything is done on the MLS, but I mean, the Riviera Maya doesn't have the MLS. Okay. A lot of offices there don't want it because they're using that to their advantage. But having an MLS system is huge.
It's great.
Loreto. So it was La Paz, and now it's Loreto, and the numbers are still super small. The homes in Loreto now are maybe, and once again, when you get to these markets too, a lot of this is, especially like La Paz, a lot more Mexican nationals. A lot of the sales are done off market, so a lot of them aren't going to show up anyway. But Loreto, without a doubt, is the fastest growing market. Condo wise, not so much, but homes and land, it's over 100%.
Yeah.
But if you're going from like 3 million in sales to 20 million in sales, it's going to look drastic.
Yeah.
So
it's a fast growing market.
And then this was the last one. I'm going to double check this, but
I don't know.
349 times.
How many listings on MLS?
Somebody uploaded one, and it was like, they were like, hey, put a listing up for, 2-bedroom condo, blah, blah, and I was like, thank you. Thanks for using ChatGPT. Here's your thing. And they like put that into the listing description.
Okay.
So everybody screenshot it and was sharing it. And like a day later, the agent was embarrassed and changed it.
But what is the word nestled?
Nestled means like, so it's like nestled into like the hills. Yeah. It's probably a nice way of saying like you don't have an ocean view.
Okay.
But anyway, everybody's using these words and they're all using the same thing, but that's why doing content and showing your personality is a great thing. So that's all we got.
Okay.
So we got, if you like this one, if you watched this far, awesome. And if you want any more MLS data or anything concerning the market, let us know. All right.
Of course.